welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here. I'm with Dynatrace. My name is Brian Chandler. I'm the field CTO of America's Partners and one of our most important partners, strategic partners at Dynatrace, Arctiq. We're gracious enough to have us guests here with you folks and really talk about the successes around modern log management and all the great things that we've been able to do and help companies and organizations out there really achieve modern log management. And with me today, with Arctiq, we have Nestor Zapata. He's VP of Autonomous Operations and Intelligence at Arctiq. Nestor, you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Excited to host this and co-host with Dynatrace, obviously near and dear with us. So excited to be here. Want to showcase a little bit of what of the success stories we've had with not just Dynatrace, but specifically in the log analytics realm. And we hope this webinar can be a benefit to you all on the Dynatrace side and see how Arctic can help you out with that. And we can dive in a little bit on that just a bit.
Perfect. Perfect. So yeah, tell us a bit more about Arctic and you know what you've been doing and just the awesome stuff you've been doing with partnering with your clients throughout the years.
Yeah, of course. So Arctic is a platform engineering and advisory software company. At its core, we help organizations operate all the complexities that have in this digital world as we're moving into everything, not just in the cloud, but containerization, and now with log analytics and AI coming into the mix of that. We focus on my practice as well on observability, automation, and autonomous ops as we help them move not just from a reactive tool-driven monitoring, but into more of an AI-powered productive operations, making the organizations deal with the challenges that they have: fragmented tools, too much alerts, too much noise, slow root cause analysis, and the disconnect between the technical teams and the business units. And this is where, in reality, Dynatrace comes in to help simplify that complexity. That brings us to Dynatrace as the natural leader in observability for many years, delivering, as we know, the full stack powered automation and causal AI. And then Arctic brings that strategic vision with Dynatrace to partner with, and we've done that over the last few years, especially in North America, being a premier services focused Dynatrace partner for many years, one of the top partners that we have, not just in certification, but in delivery as well. That's very important for us, not just be a reseller in the relationship, but also be a technical liaison and be heavily invested with Dynatrace with deep platform expertise on observability, SRE, and things like that that can help the customer find not just the technical value, but of course the business value to get that proper ROI and investment. To the end of the day, their customers and revenue are big in that. So very excited to be here, and we look forward to many more implementations that we have, and we'll share a little bit more about those in the upcoming slides here.
Amazing. Yeah. And just one thing that's really especially becoming important today that I heard there is ROI. And you're going to be investing in all these types of solutions. You need to make sure that you have the right partners that can help enable you and make sure that you have that ROI and all these investments that you're making, including Dynatrace and other platforms and things like that. So that's awesome. So before we get into a lot of the awesome success stories and what good looks like around what it takes to really achieve modern log management, we'll take a step back really quick and just introduce the Dynatrace platform and talk about what is Dynatrace about, so you can get a better picture of how it fits in with Arctic autonomous operations and intelligence. So the Dynatrace platform, we've been around. It's around 2005, we invented the concept of what's called distributed tracing. So being able to trace a transaction end to end of all your users, customers, and consumers of your digital products, and understand and pinpoint where the slowness is, where errors are, things like that, which helps, IT operations teams, business teams understand the impact of any types of outages and things like that. Dynatrace has since evolved as a platform throughout the years to really cover all things observability, all the way up to the business KPIs and business metrics. So you can think infrastructure observability, log observability. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about that today. AI observability is huge out there, security, digital experience, right? So the entire observability suite and every type of telemetry data type you could think of that would be important to inform the health of the technology stack is what Dynatrace covers, broadly speaking. But let's pivot to logs. That's going to be the big focus today because that, if you look out there, a lot of organizations are really having a lot of challenges or big projects going on to really need to modernize logs. And the kind of the why so many are looking to do that. Well, you could probably ask any budget owner of logs solutions at any major organization or medium size or wherever. Well, one of their top bills out there is likely going to be logs. These log budgets are exploding. They're sending more and more data to these platforms with the data explosion that's out there, with all of the AI use cases and cloud workloads that are out there, and it's not slowing down. And logs are really fundamental to the entire observability picture. So, you need these logs with your traces and your metrics and your digital experience data because they're a critical piece of that rich telemetry that you need to really understand how your technology stack is operating and impacting your business. And really as well too, all these modern stacks out there. So obviously gone are the days, or maybe if not yet for you, you're likely planning on transitioning off of a lot of that traditional stack to cloud workloads if you haven't yet, as well as AI workloads. And they really do require a new approach based on the complexity, the type of telemetry you need out of them, the dynamic aspect of needing to understand what type of kind of telemetry and when you need it to come out of those systems to your observability platform. That's really, really crucial. And a lot of the legacy log solutions out there that are today, or log practices that are out there today, can't really handle these new challenges that are out there today. And really just to double down on why it's key to observability, and what you'll see out there is that if you have an observability practice, likely most of that spend is on logs. Again, if you think of what a log is, it's just a ton of data compared to all these other telemetry types you could think of. You could have a massive log that's has a huge message in it with a few nuggets of really important data, but you're ingesting so much of this, and it ends up really straining that observability budget much of the time. And it really starts seeing out there in the market spend over $1 million a year or more on just logs alone. So again, you really will notice a see. Maybe if you haven't noticed it yet, you will notice it in the short while as you modernize your stacks. That log budget really is going to start expanding, and the spend is just growing year over year with this explosion of data and the need for all this telemetry that's out there. So what really needs to happen, what needs to be reinvented here is obviously there's that cost component of it that you really need to get a handle on that first and foremost. Again, it's likely, one of your largest spends in your IT department out there. And really the pain, not just the spend, but another pain is that it's usually isolated from the rest of your data. So you may have a log platform where you can ask it questions and maybe understand things from a log perspective, but you still have to pivot over to, maybe another platform like your tracing platform or your metric platform. And really that really just slows down the ability for you to diagnose and understand, when you're having these technology issues or challenges or things, innovations that you're trying to achieve. You're really making the customer pay for that when you're spending more of that time trying to do all of that manual correlation out there. And it really also hinders you from being able to innovate, do the stuff that your business really does need to do. Those new features need to ship. When you're spending all this money and time trying to handle the current state of your log practice, that high complexity really takes from time of innovation and slows down your competitive stature in the market. So those are the three things you really do need to tackle. And to start talking about how Dynatrace really approaches that and addresses those challenges out there. Three big things about the Dynatrace platform that make the difference here. So from the left going to the right, we have our unified data lakehouse that's called Grail. So every telemetry type, metrics, logs, traces, digital experience, application events, any type of telemetry you can think of is all stored in the same data lakehouse in context with each other. So no, not having to pivot to different UIs or have to use different query languages or different views and isolated windows. You can query and understand this data in context with each other. You can understand, okay, how is this log associated with this trace or this specific customer? It's all in that unified data lakehouse. And then in the center here is a real-time dependency graph that gets built out. So being able to understand how do all the components talk to each other and how do all the components fit with each other. So if you have a stack, if you think of a layered stack like a hypervisor to a server to a process or a Kubernetes cluster all the way up to an application, service, etc. This dependency graph gives you that horizontal view of how all these technologies are running with each other, and then also or a vertical view, and then horizontally it lets you understand how these components talk to each other. So this service ABC talks to this database over here. And when this database over here has an issue, it affects this service ABC. Now, if you had an isolated tool set with a non-unified data lakehouse, that would be where the manual correlation comes in. And that's where that pain and that time comes, where you have that unified data lakehouse, you have that dependency graph. And then what this really enables is all the way to the right is that agentic operating system. So you have this data in context in a dependency graph, and then you can take that intelligent observability data and start working towards automated solutions around agentic systems. So you can understand the impact of something with the business, how it's associated with something at technology stack, and then actually have agents take intelligent actions based on that telemetry data that is out there. All right, so those are the broad strokes of where Dynatrace fits in with that and how it really addresses those log management challenges that are out there is scale and cost efficiency. So inside that data lakehouse with the unified data, you'll see here shortly that you'll be able to parse the data in real time before ingest at the source, understand all in context, having it all unified in one place will really help reduce that spend that you likely are dealing with today. And it's all unified and contextual, so that manual correlation is addressed. And then you really, talking about that agentic operating system, it really does enable you to have that proactive AI-driven insight, operations out there, which Nestor will mention here in a moment as well. So if we talk about maximizing value and optimizing cost, well, I could talk about this all day, but Nestor's the one that's really, in the trenches with our joint customers, and he's done some amazing work out there. And he's got a couple stories here of how, we've had, joint clients and customers face these challenges and, address them, with Arctiq's practices as well with the Dynatrace platform. So Nestor, I think you want to maybe tell us a couple of cool stories here.
Yeah, we have a couple of stories that we have, and we'll share an actual slide within a few. But I did want to talk about what we're seeing in the industry today, because you mentioned readily that most organizations they adopted tools like Splunk or Elastic years ago. And not to say that that was the wrong choice at the time. At the time, that was probably the most viable option that they had. But now we see that organizations have evolved dramatically. We have cloud, we have Kubernetes, we have microservices. Now we have AI factories, and now we're having the AI hardware that needs to come into play. Organizations have had a need to modernize very quickly. So what happens is that we've been talking about it this afternoon in the past few minutes. Logs have become very expensive and very noisy. Our customers are coming up to us and telling us we need a way not just to get the logs. We have the logs. What can we do with them? So we're seeing an increasing cost when it comes down to the indexing part, force retention policies. So while there's more data than ever, engineers now struggle with the answers to the basic questions, like, for example, what changed? Why did it happen? And what's the impact? You mentioned there how we can do not just a correlation, but a causation of how when a log appears and the issue and error gets thrown, now we can tie it back to the business impact. How many customers were impacted? How much revenue perhaps is being lost? So what we're seeing from our customers today is that logs are treated as a standalone product and a standalone tool. With Dynatrace Log Analytics, we're helping them fix that, not just delivering the technical outcomes, but the business outcomes. Instead of being forensic analysts now with these logs, we essentially use Dynatrace to change that conversion. So we mentioned here, Dynatrace doesn't treat logs as an isolated source, but the metrics, traces, and topologies get that deep user experience when it comes to that. So we're helping our customers move from legacy log platforms to Dynatrace intentionally and safely. So we help rationalize the logs use cases, we reduce that unnecessary ingestion at times, and we also design the strategies on the services and SLOs, which is a concept that perhaps other folks are not thinking about, and seeing how logs can actually be an impact to the SLO in creating that migration workflow. So customers ultimately gain with Dynatrace and Arctiq. It's not just cheaper log management, but more efficient. They get operational clarity and faster resolutions. The issue is not how much data they can have, it's how quickly they can get the answers from the data. And we'll talk about a major hospitality organization that we were able to have a lot of success in. But I wanted just to highlight what the industry is going in and why the need is there at an enterprise level that we're seeing is at a global scale as well.
No, that's awesome, and it just makes me so excited to have Arctic as our partner here in these types of things because Arctic truly are the experts in all of this. So just being able to take not only everything that Dynatrace can do, but apply it to the businesses and their needs with expertise in the platform and making these things successful. So that's so great. One thing I wanted to mention here as well too, something new. So the last slide is really showcasing a lot of what customers and clients have already seen, but a new exciting announcement you've probably seen out there, out in the on the internet, is Dynatrace just acquired a company called BindPlane. Now BindPlane is really an awesome capability that's going to be brought into the Dynatrace platform about really taking control of the end-to-end telemetry pipeline. So if you think about traditional observability stacks, or observability stacks today, including us, you would have your source, let's say maybe a server, or Kubernetes cluster, or cloud workload. You have maybe a intermediary where all that data is sent to, and maybe there some of the data is parsed out and massaged, and then the value data within there is then finally sent to the platform at ingestion time. Well, what BindPlane brings is the full end-to-end view and management of that telemetry pipeline. So that's all the way down to where the source is. And this is really key when it comes to really managing even more so that cost of all of your telemetry data. So let's say you have a big log file or a big some sort of event you're trying to send from a container sitting in a Kubernetes cluster somewhere. Well, ideally you don't want to have that entire file or event or log sent anywhere along the line in the telemetry if you're just going to end up dropping 90% of it for just that 10% of valuable data that your business needs. Or BindPlane and this capability is going to bring is the ability to parse all the way at the source layer. So you can understand and figure out which data is truly valuable that you're emitting from your technology stacks at the source. So there's no ingestion needed for any of that unneeded data. And so it further reduces the cost beyond what Dynatrace and Arctic can already help you with. And it also allows you to manage this in real time. So perhaps you do need 100% of that data sometimes, but maybe most of the time you just need the 10% of that data. Well, instead of having to send all that data all the time anywhere up the pipeline, or have to log into the container, or which is pretty impossible usually, or logging into the server to tell it, hey, I just need this data. You can, from one single UI in the Dynatrace platform, you're going to be able to parse out in real time and manage that data at the source layer. So it's going to bring even more capability around flexibility of what data is brought in when, and also help reduce that cost here. So super exciting. And just a couple of splash pages here and some numbers you can see around typical usage, status quo around in the amount of data you typically have to ingest versus Now you can in real time really just ingest the data that's needed. You're going to have more pipeline intelligence, and on the left-hand side, you can see of what that unified UI of understanding all of your sources and destinations of the data out there. So it's really, really exciting. Just wanted to give a shout out there. And there's a blog out there. If you Google Dynatrace bind plane, you can hear more from our chief product officer around more details of that. So just wanted to give that a quick shout out if you haven't seen that yet. So we're talking about all these capabilities, the reduction of costs, the reduction of manual correlation, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, what is this really serving? At the end of the day, it's your end customer and your end users. How is it impacting the business? So I have personally a couple of customers that really gave me my light bulb moments around this. One's an airline, one's a rental car agency. Uh, so on the airline side, if you think about checking into a kiosk and that experience, the customer experience of checking into a kiosk, sure, the technology teams care about if the pages are fast, if the pages are failing for the customer, things like that. But what they actually really, really care about, what the business really cares about, is how long is somebody physically standing at a kiosk? Not how long is the individual bags page, take to load. Yes, that's important, but what is the actual end-to-end customer experience? And how many add-ons are they buying, are customers buying for their experience? And if the customers are standing there at a kiosk for 5 to 7 minutes, that's a problem to the business because now flight attendants need to start coming down and helping the customer. And now the flight attendants not helping checking bags anymore or checking people in anymore because we're doing other things they need to do. And the business really does start to suffer with that. The rental car agency, is they need to understand what is the real-time revenue of their bookings. And okay, yeah, we care how fast the booking transactions and the rates and things are like that. But at the end of the day, what they really care about is, are we bringing in the amount of revenue that we should be bringing in on a Tuesday at 8 a.m. or pick any day time? And that's what the business cares about and alerts on. And that's what Arctiq and Dynatrace deliver all the time with joint customers. And it's just super exciting that, Arctiq has that expertise and takes the time to really understand the client's business, their goals, and tying that and mapping that to all the observability and the rest of the data that's out there. So that's just something if that is a takeaway. At the end of the day, what really matters is taking this observability and applying it to your business here. And you can see an example
Yeah.
here of a dashboard. Yep. Go ahead, Nestor.
Yeah, Brian. So that's great. And I don't have this and the other example we're going to be speaking about very briefly. But now that you mentioned those airlines and the car rental company, we had another customer that we got very creative with this, and they have a lot of ski resorts in the mountainous regions, and they noticed that some of the telemetry they were grabbing were when these ski lifts were not operational. They got the data from the weather app and the weather website. They had to close down these lifts and customers showed up very upset because they paid A for the lift and also for the experience to go up there. Had they known that was not operational, they would have not gotten dressed up and gone out there. And if they were, well, now they want to be compensated in a certain fashion. So we started getting creative and saying, well, that could be a business event for you guys. When that lift is
Hmm.
no longer operational, now we're sending out an email, automated email. Now we're sending via the app that you all ask your guests to get registered with in there. And now they're going to get this alert. So now they're not going to get dressed at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. to go out to the slopes. Moreover, you're going to give them a code to say you're able now to, because of the inconvenience, take this credit and go down to either the spa or take this voucher and have some hot chocolate or another type of beverage that you would like. And they were giving that out. We took that another step, right? And now we had a dashboard that had the relationship between how much revenue was generated by that code. Because in essence, if that feature of the slope was not operational, now we're generating revenue. Now they're not just staying in their rooms. Now they're going to the spa. Now they're going to another activity, and it's generating that extra revenue that we have with them there. So we're taking an outage and now creating a new business stream for them. And all this because the logs that were being ingested are now answering business questions for them to do.
Amazing. Yep. Just another awesome story, another example there. So yeah, it's just, yeah, it's awesome to have, Arctic, you guys here to help our clients and customers along with this journey. So Really, if you take a step back and you see all these capabilities and all the things that can come out of modern log management with Dynatrace and Arctic, you might ask, well, can it manage our environment? Our environment, every organization has a different environment. It very complex. You have some stuff in the cloud, maybe multi-cloud, maybe a lot still on-prem, maybe still all on-prem, maybe it's all in the cloud. Really could be anywhere. Point is here is Dynatrace platform really is prepared to integrate with any type of technology stack that you have out there. So we have hundreds of out of the box integrations with all the main cloud services and all the ways that you can process logs from different types of technologies and different types of APIs. Dynatrace can integrate with, and Arctic has the expertise out there as well. So you can rest assured that no matter what scale your environment is, uh, how mixed it is, you can get those logs ingested into the platform to achieve these things. And Arctic is here with the expertise to guide you on that journey as well, and really efficiently process those logs at scale as well. So again, as you have these giant environments sending tons of logs to these legacy platforms with little to no pre-processing, that really drives up that cost. So not only are you going to be able to hook into all these different technologies that are out there wherever they are, you'll be able to efficiently process them to keep that cost manageable as well. So really, if you take a step back and take a look at the entire Dynatrace platform, and it really is about unified observability. So we've talked a lot about logs today, but really it's about taking that log data, reducing the cost, making that management easier, reducing that manual correlation, and then correlating it with all of your other observability telemetry data. So you really get to achieve your modernized log goals out there, tying it to the business as well as having that one unified platform. There's a lot of things that are really nice about how Grail, the data lakehouse works, is that there's no storage tiers you have to deal with, no indexes or schemas you have to manage. That's usually a huge pain that you see out there. And we have up to 10 years of retention. So if you need to keep certain logs or records for a certain amount of time for compliance reasons, we have a great bucketing system that allows you to easily manage and retain the logs that you need. And it's all tied to the platform at the end of the day that you can use the Dynatrace apps and capabilities, in there as well. So I believe here, Nestor, this was another story you're going to tell, and a journey that we saw, went from a log and maybe one of those more traditional log shops to a modern approach here.
Yep, thanks for that, Brian. And that's exactly what we're going to highlight now. And let me bring this story to life. This is a major hospitality customer that we have, a global customer. And yes, it was a classic competitor takeout story where log analytics became that force factor function for moving into what we are now calling unified observability. So the problem that we were seeing with this customer is something that we see with a lot of other customers, right? Across the industry, especially in the hospitality industry where guest facing uptime is everything. If the guest cannot have a premium experience, you're probably going to lose some revenue or all of your revenue, especially if they have not booked or made the transaction with you there. What happens is that the technical teams were having to do all the patchwork of tools and none of them connected. They were all in silos, right? So the customer that we had in this scenario was living that painful reality. They had gaps in their container visibility. Their log toolings was not just costly, but operationally heavy. They had to involve quite a few team members and dedicate resources and personnel just to keep this up and running. So they were dealing with that fragmented approach across multiple platforms. At the end, the results were what we see traditionally with slower troubleshooting, too much manual correlation, and the leadership kept asking a very simple question. Why do we have all this telemetry, all these logs, but I still cannot get answers quickly and how our business is being impacted, how much money potentially we are losing during a performance outage in this scenario. We have various experiences. This is exactly what drove another Las Vegas entertainment hospitality firm that we have with the objective of consolidating their legacy monitoring tool and logging into Dynatrace to standardize for long-term observability. Now, how did Dynatrace help us in this scenario? Well, Dynatrace changed the model because logs were not treated as a standalone system. They were not in a siloed area. Dynatrace went ahead and unified what we see here in the logs with the metrics, the traces, and the topology. So whether it was application, whether it was infrastructure, whether it was a hybrid containerized environment, all that was not just available via logs, but of course there was context behind it. Why something happened, when it happened, and who was really impacted. So that greatly reduced the amount of time it took to find that root cause and the impact both on the technical and more importantly on the customer side and impacting the revenue. On the log side specifically, Dynatrace's log management and analytics is built on, like we learned now, thank you, Brian, on Grail. It's a purpose-built data lakehouse, and that was designed specifically for observability use cases like we have for this customer. So the teams were able to go in and query at scale. They were able to keep the data longer without traditional overhead, making indexing and rehydration a thing of the past. They were to quickly get answers, type it in just in natural language, what they needed, when they needed it at the proper time. And now how Arctiq and Dynatrace approached this to the customer. Well, Arctiq, we went ahead and turned that platform capability to a structured transformation. We started with a value-driven workshop. We didn't go in and say, well, you made the wrong choice 2 years ago by acquiring this tool set, and this is the consequences. No, we realized what they really needed to accomplish, what the business outcome was, and then we worked our way back, identifying and positioning how a platform replacement strategy was the best route to go. And we made it a clear point that it was going to be a transition into going not just a simple rip and replace. We needed to change the way our teams and business analyzed and used that data. And that matter was critical because it helped overcome the natural resistance that it came from the tool owners in saying, this is my baby, this is what I've been doing for the past year or two. So we reframed the conversation around operational outcome, business value, scale, and cost to serve, not just a tool set or feature parity, which is important in the cultural aspect, always involving the people, the process, and the technology. So when we built that migration strategy, we preserved and improved the already ongoing monitoring and observability capability that team had implemented while we managed the risk. So using that phased approach helped us do the enablement properly, encourage them to keep using it, and also very important for us was to put and design the operational guardrails so they could adopt Dynatrace confidently and retire their legacy toolset. In the end, our delivery model is designed for adoption, it's designed for scale. We have assessments in place, we have migration strategies, we consolidate, and most importantly, Arctiq provides the enablement. We teach you how to fish so you can be ongoing and be successful in your practice. So customers don't just turn it on, we actually operationalize it for them as well. And we won here because we led with the technical credibility and financial realism that the customer needed at that time. We connected the worlds that the customer's operational and business need to the value-driven solution that the technical team was struggling to find. And we partnered tightly with Dynatrace's team to see the customer upfront, unify there, and identify those proof points to give them a clear vision and a clear path to take that decision. So we reasoned with this blueprint, we led with that, provided that unified observability for them, reduced the tool sprawl, and they were able to move into what we realize now is operational intelligence, not just a forensic tool that they were using ad hoc when they needed. At the end of the day, Dynatrace gives you the unified platform for modern log analytics and foundation. And here at Arctiq, we make you successful. We operationalize that, and we provide the strategy, migration, and adoption to get the business outcomes you need to increase revenue and operational efficiency for your team at the end of the day. So that this is one of the great use cases we've had. We've had multiple successes with financial firms, banking organizations, but the most important part, regardless of what vertical it is or you may find yourself in, Dynatrace will help you find the business value, and Arctiq can help you implement that and take that to that next level as needed from your financial and technical leadership.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, what I hear out of that too is a big takeaway to me at least is you really do meet the customer where they are, wherever they are. Yeah, regardless of vertical, what their maturity is, and you can truly tailor a success path for them. And that's just yeah, what we love, partnering with Arctic. That's awesome. So just to, you've had Nestor and I, talk at you and say, about, how these things can work out for you. But, don't take it just from us. If you just Dynatrace alone here also, Arctic really has invested in partnering with Dynatrace and you can the all the leading analysts out there. It's been proven for many, many years, 15 consecutive years that Dynatrace has led in the observability Magic Quadrant. And so you not only have that at your disposal, but you also have a best in class, first class partner to take you along that Dynatrace success journey. So it was awesome having everyone join us today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. We'll make sure we'll have like a follow up with everyone that attended, and yeah, it was great. Thanks, Nestor, again for having us stop by. It's been awesome, and just yeah, we'll have a good rest of the day and good rest of the week, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We look forward to partnering with you all.
Awesome.